Welcome to another Wisdom podcast with Greg Wasowski. Greg spent a good amount of time at Salesforce, long career, 9 years there. So we're going to talk about that and, of course, Aral Labs. It's now his current role. He's managing director, PDO, in financial services practice there. This podcast is brought to you by my podcast agency, which is called podbuyer.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast like this one, find sponsors. Podcasts are a perfect and super impressive growth mechanism out there. You can speak to people you would normally not have the opportunity to speak to. You can build a community, build leads, build clients, and even get that sponsor that will pay you 1 to 5K per episode. So it's quite exciting venture right there, podbuyer.com for that. Greg, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your background?
Absolutely. And Charles, thanks so much for having me. Greg Wasowski, I'm based in the UK, live just outside of London. As you mentioned, I currently work for Aral Labs. We're a Salesforce consultancy partner. We do two things. We're a Summit SI partner, so we help with implementations and ongoing support of Salesforce solutions. And we also have PDO, which is an exciting part and not very well known. We actually help to build and scale AppExchange solutions for Salesforce. Before that, I spent 9 years at Salesforce in different roles, ranging from pre-sales to go-to-market innovation strategy. And for the last 2.5 years, I led the global financial services strategy for AppExchange.
All right, so let's talk about fintech and Salesforce. Most people know Salesforce as like a sales CRM, but it's way deeper than that. Tell us about the function of Salesforce and how many use Salesforce as a fintech backend / platform.
Sure thing. So, and a very fair comment and very common one, I would say. If you think about Salesforce has been around for over 24 years and is very well known in the CRM space. This is where Salesforce really started. But when you think about what Salesforce really does, I think the easiest way to explain it, Salesforce is a customer 360 platform that really helps customers connect better with their own customers. And the strategy you're seeing Salesforce is pushing these days is the concept of data plus AI plus CRM plus trust. Financial services, again, something that not everyone knows, is the largest vertical for Salesforce, with banks, wealth managers, insurers, and of course, a lot of fintechs using Salesforce as a platform to engage better with their own customers. And that ranges really from those CRM capabilities you mentioned across sales, service, marketing, to very deep collaboration and analytics tools to integration as well. And Salesforce actually has an industry-specific product called Financial Services Cloud with specific data models and processes tailored towards the industry of financial services.
Pretty cool. And what's an example of a startup we know, or a startup that's quite innovative that's using Salesforce as a backend?
What's an example of a? I think there are a number of very interesting use cases. I think everyone will know Stripe. Stripe is a customer of Salesforce, is also a strategic partner, powering some of the Salesforce payments capabilities. Smaller startups in the ID verification space, like on Fido, are using Salesforce. And then a lot of organizations that are now publicly traded companies and also Salesforce partners like Nino would be Salesforce customers as well.
And why Salesforce precisely? Is it like the amount of servers that they have, the quality of their customer service, and the rate at which they add new feature that makes them attractive?
I wouldn't say it's really about the servers. Of course, from scalability perspective, that's something that people really care about. The platform itself is extremely flexible, built for growth and flexibility and customization, which is important for people. But I would say a lot of people are attracted by the obvious success Salesforce has had in the last 24 years and the pace of innovation with 3 releases a year, and the speed that Salesforce actually brings new products to market. The newest additions of Data Cloud or the AI capabilities now under the Einstein platform are just some of the examples.
You write a lot about fintech nowadays. You even have your newsletter. So how do you use content to create more neurons in your own brain, get feedback, and gain followers?
To be honest with you, Charles, I started writing because that really helped me systemize some of my thinking and put it in one place. So it was a little bit selfish. And then I discovered that other people are also interested in those topics. So it has sparked a number of really interesting conversations with colleagues, ex-colleagues, and customers as well. Do I focus on growing the audience? No, it grows organically. There are some lessons I could learn from you, Charles, when it comes to growing that audience and doing it more strategically. But the honest answer is that I simply enjoy what I'm doing, and other people seem to find it interesting as well. So I just keep on doing it once a month.
We're still at the same stage, and I don't have much to teach about growth and subscribers because that's not my focus right now. It's starting to be, right? And the clear golden goose to that problem is paid ads, So for example, if I want to grow my channel on YouTube, I just sponsor it. That's how most people do it. And then humans, they see that you have 10,000 followers on YouTube and a bunch of views, and they're like, oh, I want to be there too, because I think you mentioned a clear keyword there. It's like being selfish, quote unquote. Well, guess what? Like I'm the same, I do this content to learn. That was the number one thesis behind this experiment. And people, they want to come on the pod for the same selfish reasons, because they want views, they want to exchange, they want to grow. So I think it's a good thesis, and especially a good feedback mechanism. The more audience you have, the more feedback you'll get. Now, obviously, a bunch of that feedback won't be valid, whether it's positive or negative, but yeah, it's definitely a good way to learn there. One thing that I could learn from you that I've checked on your LinkedIn is physical conferences. I haven't done any of those since quite a while. I tend to think that the return on investment on them are pretty low, other than if I book my calendar fully while I am there. You've been at Dreamforce and a bunch of other events. So have these events paid off for you? And what's the return behind like showing up physically, taking an airplane and blocking like a couple of days in your calendar just to be there?
And that very nicely actually lines up with your comments around your YouTube channel. If you're strategic about this, and if you really put some thought before actually jumping on a plane, yes, absolutely, it is worth it. And the return on investment from those key events, Dreamforce, for example, some of the World Tour events, has been very good. And it's been very good because of prior thinking and planning when it comes to events. We were sponsoring and co-creating with Salesforce when it comes to trying to schedule as many meetings with existing and prospective customers. And for me, that human aspect, being able to meet people in person is really important. I work from home, and that human aspect is, well, we having a conversation, of course, now on Zoom, but I think at times we forget how important it is to meet people in person, and those conferences for me provide exactly for that. So yes, while the return on investment has been good when it comes to closing some of the consulting deals by actually generating good pipeline that our teams can follow up on. For me, it is really about the ability to meet with people and learn. That learning aspect is super important for me.
Mark Benioff is quite great at employing growth hacks, for the lack of a better term, in Salesforce, and I think Dreamforce was a major one. What other growth hacks have you seen in Salesforce over the years, and what can you tell about Mark Benioff's quality of entrepreneur and his skills at leading a company to hypergrowth?
I think he's amazing. You know, there are things you may like or not like about Mark Benioff. I thought that he is an amazing leader, being able to grow the organization to the size it is now, with over 70,000 employees, over 30 billion in revenue. But for me, most importantly, he's really a visionary, and a lot of the product ideas and go-to-market strategy comes directly from him. What I really valued while being employed by Salesforce is, on one hand, you know, the push to grow to grow as an organization, but on the other one, to give back to the society, and there's not just a marketing tool. People really do those things. You know, they have 7 days to volunteer per annum. They give back, not only the time, but money, where the donations are being matched by Salesforce. So that's true, and that's an important aspect of Salesforce's culture. With the 1% pledge, which Aral Labs is part of as well, you see a lot of organizations actually adopting that model, which I think is really really important.
Elon Musk and X. I'm reading the book currently. Well, I'm done reading it. It was an incredible book by Walter Isaacson. Although there was some bias in there, was definitely better than the first Ashley Vance bio. Not that you can compare both, because Ashley has written the book like when Elon was still in the shadows, quote unquote. But Twitter, now known as X, I think they're taking a positive direction. They're really lean, they're really intense, they're deploying a bunch of features, and you made a case the other day for it to be a future app of everything, and that's what Elon wants with this app, just like a WeChat, if folks have ever been to China, for example. So what's your use case for that, and why has Zuckerberg failed with Facebook to make it the everything app, if failure can be a thing?
Can failure be a thing? Yeah, maybe, but I think that it's just hard, because the markets are so different. You know, if you're looking at the US, then of course, if you look at Europe, with the many local differences, not just language, but cultural and legislative as well. I would say in countries like China or Indonesia, that entry point might have been a little bit easier, because you weren't necessarily competing with the incumbents. I think the vision of X becoming an everything app is grand. Whether Musk will succeed at doing that, I personally am not fully convinced yet. I like the vision. I would like that to happen. But I think the reality is that it won't be, and I don't want to say that it was easy in China, but it won't be as straightforward as it was with WeChat.
Because
in
Zuck have tried to do that, with marketplace, with like all these sub apps, separated messenger. I had Peter Rojas on the pod not so long ago. He's the head of product of Messenger, and basically he has also tried to involve payments in there, from a business standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint. And it seems that that was quite hard for them. They probably tried to build the internal infrastructure internally. I think that at some point they partnered with Stripe, which is never the right decision, in my opinion, because both are going to compete. Apple has been successful, but they're not trying to build an everything app. Apple Pay has been really, really successful. So what would have Elon more like succeed quicker than these other behemoths at building this? Is it just the intensity and the team? Because it does seem that, yeah, the technical and the engineering talent is definitely there, but there's a bunch of obstacles for that. What could be these obstacles / incumbents / challenges to that?
You see, it's always been an interesting dilemma in the tech space, but not only in the tech space, when it comes to decisions related to build, buy, or partner. And I think this is precisely where X is today. Elon, of course, with his experience behind PayPal, and he has very smart engineers on his team, could build those things from scratch. There is an opportunity perhaps for an acquisition that could speed up and bring that vision to markets. The quickest way to do it would actually be through partnerships. And if we're looking at the concept of both embedded finance and banking as a service, or pretty much any asset as a service, that's a super compelling proposition, because it really unlocks access to specific financial assets in the context of specific user journeys. So we're starting with really thinking about who is the user, what are the specific jobs to be done, and what are specific outcomes we want to drive for both the organization and for the end users. So how are we adding value? How are we creating gain creators and pain relievers using Alex Hostevada's methodology from value proposition canvas, rather than really focusing on the features, on the outputs. And I think that's a model I personally would explore. And you see with Apple, whom you have mentioned, that this specific model has worked very well for them.
Interesting. Now with fintech and the advent of AI nowadays, how do you feel that AI is gonna change the landscape? Is it gonna be that I'm gonna have an AI pay my credit card bill on time, and that's gonna make the right move to increase my credit history? Is it that I'm gonna have an AI invest in the right spot at the right place? Where do you see this coming at the consumer level and also at the enterprise level?
When it comes to AI and financial services, I'm glad that we actually have quite a lot of regulations, because some of the use cases you're mentioning are a little bit scary if we don't actually think about them well. AI in financial services is not a new thing. What's new is the boomerang / language models. And I think there is a huge potential actually with having LLMs specific to industries like financial services. We see that with what Bloomberg has done this year. I see a lot of applications of that really in places where we need it, for example, for detections and prevention. That's a very interesting use case for me, perhaps not a super exciting topic for everyday user, but they should be excited about it, because it's actually something that will protect them. we are of course seeing, applications related to things like advanced financial planning and advice, personal customer service, and this is probably where most organizations are investing the money today when it comes to AI-driven chatbots, virtual assistants, LLMs delivering highly customized customer experiences. An interesting fact is that this year, a lot of organizations were trialing AI strategies, and whether it is related purely to LLM or broader application of machine learning across key processes. I think that next year we'll really see that going mainstream and moving from pilots to having those specific use cases powered by AI being generally available.
So there's 2 months remaining for this year's. What are your priorities? What you want to accomplish?
What do I want to accomplish? Personally, I still have a pile of books which I thought I would read this year. So I've got lots of reading to be done. From the business perspective, we have some exciting initiatives around financial services, and I'm currently working on a private equity proposition, which I'm really excited about. Those are probably two of the things that I'm focusing on right now. How about you, Charles? What are you trying to accomplish in the last 2 months of this year?
Where to start, so balance my pipeline, 50% sales, 50% podcast, because it's been 80% podcast the last couple months, and feel I've kind of maxed out this experiment, monetize my mastermind, recruit CEOs to run my companies, some of the agencies that are quite successful. And the importance right now is focusing my time on impactful stuff, because I feel that, these lead gen agencies and podcasting is not ambitious enough, and not just the ambition, but I feel like I should work in stuff that can impact positively humanity, like AGI, like longevity, for example, and eventually brain computer interfaces, which are my geekiness and stuff that lights me up, that's on the business level. And personal level, buying a house here in Oaxaca. So yeah, that's gonna be for the rest of this year. You've traveled a lot. Last question for you, like Japan, Spain, and all of these places in the world. What was your favorite spot, and what have you learned culturally, or just from living your life in these beautiful regions of the world?
I don't really have a favorite space, but I have personally really enjoyed living in Japan because it was so different. A great cultural experience for sure. A place that I spent 3.5 years. Spain is still very close to my heart. I really enjoy going back. Amazing people. I love the Spanish language and literature as well. So if I had to choose, those are probably two of my favorite spots. This year we went to France twice, and I absolutely love France. So we're definitely going back.
Yeah, France is special. The gastronomy and the architecture, the history as well, and obviously the wine, the cheeses. So great spot. Where can people find out more about you, Greg?
LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. Greg Wasowski. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm spending most of my time. I have Twitter accounts, but I haven't really been very, very active there. So LinkedIn is the place to go.
I'm Charles Cormier, host of CEOWisdompodcast.com. That was Greg Wasowski.